Hi everyone, hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to talk about angle of elevation and depression, which is really just taking trig ratios and making them into word problems. But first I wanted to give you an overview of the next 2 weeks and what we have coming up. So Monday, which I'm filming this on Sunday, but Monday when you're watching this, is obviously this video, angles of elevation and depression, followed by 20 minutes on the IXL I post. Tuesday, you are going to be completing a study guide in preparation for a quiz on all of this stuff on Wednesday. So this is unit 4.5. You will take a quiz via Quizizz like you did last time. And you're going to have 24 hours to do that. I am going to enter the grades for the last quiz. I was just waiting on some clarification as to when I should have done that from Ms. Jacobs. And she said we can go ahead and enter stuff, so I'm going to do that. And then enter this 4.5 quiz as well. After that, we are going to spend some time reviewing everything in Unit 4 in preparation for a Unit 4 test. So we are going to review everything that we've done since starting this unit. So lines and angles, triangle congruence, triangle similarity, polygons, parallelograms, and trig. And you all will have a Unit 4 test at the end of next week. So tentatively, this is how it's going to work. So stay tuned for a final announcement on how we're going to do this test, but I'm pretty sure that this is how it's going to work. There's going to be 4 appointment slots, 2 next Thursday, 2 next Friday. So let me actually see the specific dates on those. Thursday, April 10th, Friday, April 11th. There's going to be about 17 availabilities for each appointment time. So everyone needs to pick a time to take the test. If none of them work for you, or if the ones that already work for you are filled up, you need to be letting me know. But during that time, you will come on to Google Hangout or Zoom, I'm not quite sure yet, and I will proctor all of you taking the test. The test is going to be sent to you as a PDF, and you are going to be completing it on paper, and you have to then send me a picture of your work and your answers in order to be graded. Every time slot is going to have a different test, so it does not benefit you to wait until the end, one of the last time slots, and then have a friend send you their work, because it's going to be a different test. And in terms of using your notes, the way that is going to be determined is whether or not you have completed the required amount of IXL time. Or there's going to be a caveat here, because I'll tell you kind of middle of next week exactly how much time it is, because there will be several assignments. I'll say you will have to spend 20 minutes on this one and 40 minutes on this one. It'll be really clear to you. So it's either fulfilling the time, or if you have a 95 to a 100, then you do not have to fulfill the time. All right, so those fulfilling either of those requirements is going to allow you to use your notes on your unit test. And I will be proctoring you, so I am going to ask you to show me, take your Chromebook, show me your workspace. You can either use notes or you can't. I'm going to ask you to show me you putting your phone out of reach. So we're going to try to do this as normally as possible. So yeah, that is what's coming up in the next couple weeks. There's going to be a fun little review assignment happening, so stay tuned for details for that. But right now we are going to talk about angle of elevation and depression. So we are on page 10 of the 4.5 note packet. Angle of elevation is just defined as the angle formed by an observer's line of sight and a horizontal line, which might not make sense to some of you, but let's do an example to explain. Number 1, Casey sights the top of an 84-foot lighthouse at an angle of elevation of 58 degrees. Casey is 6 feet tall. So we have Casey, this human, who is 6 feet tall, and this lighthouse that is 84 feet tall. he sees the lighthouse at an angle of elevation of 58 degrees. So we're not getting into like the nuances here of saying, well, if he's 6 feet tall, his eyes are only at like 5'10". No, his eyes, we're going to say, are at 6 feet tall as well. And he's looking up at the top of the lighthouse at a 58-degree angle. So some of you might be wondering, well, why do we know that he's looking up and that angle is formed with a horizontal line? Again, the definition says observer's line of sight and a horizontal line. He is looking up at the top of the lighthouse, so that's where this line comes from. And actually, let's do this. Line of sight is green, horizontal line is blue. All right, now let's get into all of the, we need to obviously find a side of the triangle because we don't have one yet. We know that the lighthouse, the entire thing, is 84 feet, but that's not a side of our triangle. We know that Casey's 6 feet, but that's not a side of our triangle. But what we do know is that the lighthouse is 78 feet taller. This is obviously not to scale. 78 feet taller than Casey. Because if he's 6 feet, the lighthouse is 84 feet, the difference is 78. So that is one of the sides of your triangle. This is obviously the right angle. And what we are asked to find is how far he is standing from the base of the lighthouse, which is this, right? Where his feet are from the bottom of the lighthouse, which is the same as this, his eyes from, horizontally, what that is equivalent to in the lighthouse. So if it helps you to redraw, go right ahead. Again, let me repeat, this is not to scale. So we have 78 feet, we have a right angle, we have 58 degrees, and we are looking for this side. Now we just have a normal trig problem where we're solving for a missing side. So I'll do this one with you, even though you should know what to do at this point. Right, you're highlighting the angle that's relevant, you're highlighting the sides that are relevant, and identifying what their relationship is. So x is adjacent to 58, 78 is opposite. If it helps you, you can write that this is the hypotenuse, although that's not going to be factored in here, right? The only two sides that are relevant are the opposite and adjacent legs. From there, you need to identify what ratio deals with opposite and adjacent. If you don't know yet, make sure you are writing this at the top of your paper. So, TOA. And we can clearly see that tangent is the one that deals with opposite and adjacent in that order. So tangent of the angle, tangent of 58, equals opposite 78 over adjacent x. So when x is in the denominator, not the numerator, that means we have to divide, right? So you just cross multiply, so 78 times 1, or 78, equals x times the tangent of 58. In order to get x by itself, you divide by the tangent of 58. And x equals 48.7 feet. Before you say you're finished, you do need to check for reasonableness here. All right, does this make sense? Obviously, guys, not to scale. So please do not look at that and be like, no, it's smaller than the, or it's larger than the 78. No, okay, not to scale. But does that make sense? Well, I mean, yeah, we don't know the hypotenuse, so we don't really have a point of reference to say, oh, it should be smaller than that. But it does make sense that he would be standing, I mean, that's like a reasonable distance to stand from a lighthouse. It's not like 5 feet and you're looking up at the top of it. So yeah, we are finished. Quick note before we do one with angle of depression. I said this in the last lecture and some of you still reached out about it. So, make sure you're watching the lectures or else you're going to miss things. Speaking to the choir here because you are obviously watching if you're hearing this, but you need to make sure your calculator is set to degrees, not to radian. So that's in like the settings of your calculator. If it's set to radians, you could be doing everything perfectly correctly, but still get the wrong answer because your calculator is not measuring degrees. It's measuring with another unit called radians. It's just different, right? So it's like inches versus centimeters. They're just different things. So you need to make sure that your calculator is interpreting what you are entering as degrees. So when you say 58, tangent of 58, right? It's interpreting that as 58 degrees, not 58 radians, which you're going to learn about next year. All right. I want you all to complete these questions. So you can pause it, do them now, and then move on to angles of depression, or you can do them after. So angle of depression, literally the same thing, except for instead of looking up, you're looking down. So it's formed by an observer's line of sight, which is horizontal in this case. I'm sorry. Ignore what I said. You're looking down. It's not horizontal. Your line of sight is downwards facing. And horizontal line, which is horizontal. All right. The angle of depression is congruent to the angle of elevation because they are alternate interior angles. So like if you have kind of two of them working in conjunction, know that they are congruent angles. All right. Let's try number... All right, let's try number 5. If a lifeguard is sitting on a platform looking down, a lifeguard is sitting on a platform looking down at a swimmer in the water. Right, so he is sitting on a platform, meaning there is a thing here that is not him, and he is sitting on it. Okay, bad drawing. If the lifeguard's line of sight is 8 feet above ground, so including the platform and the person, that's 8 feet. And the angle of depression to the swimmer is 18 feet. How far away is the swimmer from the lifeguard? All right, so let's walk through this. If the lifeguard's line of sight is 8 feet above the ground, we did that, and the angle of depression to the swimmer is 18 degrees, meaning his line of sight and the horizontal line, this angle is 18 degrees. How far away is the swimmer from the lifeguard? So we know that this is the right angle. We want to know this piece of information, right? How far away he is, which is the same as this, right? So that's X. But you're probably thinking, or maybe you know, but if not, we don't have any side of the triangle right now, right? We have this triangle. We know that this is 18 degrees. We know that we're looking for this, but we don't actually have a side to go off of. Well, you do, and it is 8, right? Because we know that this is 8. These are the same. So this is 8.